Good afternoon and welcome to Sunspots. I'm your host, Evan Cooke. Pleased to be joined on the show today by a member of the Okanagan Sun offensive line. This is Marshal Klein. First off, thanks for coming in today and talking with me. And really, congratulations are in order first off because the BCFC offensive all-star team came out today and your name was on that list. Nice way to start the week for you.
Yeah, it was a good way to start it. It's really an award that speaks to all five of us as a group, and for two of us to get it, it says a lot about our unit. So I'm happy that I was one of the people that was picked.
Yeah, good point. Out of the all the offensive linemen that were chosen for that particular team, two came from the Sun, yourself and your teammate Matt Robinson. This was one of the parts of the Sun this year, actually, where there were a lot of first-year players on the offensive line. You're one of those, though you've had extensive football experience. But, I mean, coming into this team, what was that like meshing with that group right away?
Well, when you got guys like Carter Como, and it's his first year playing football. You got guys like James Harney, and he's really just kind of coming into offensive line again since high school. It's just kind of finding out what everybody's good at, what's everybody's part of the unit. You got a guy like Harney, and he's kind of your enforcer. He's gonna do the dirty stuff. Guy like Carter Como, you're just gonna look at a guy like that and just be terrified as he throws you around. So meshing as a group is just kind of finding where everybody fit in our order. Like I came in and I kind of took a leadership role as I was one of the older guys, but we really did come together as a group, and we're really meshing really well right now, which is what we want.
Now, I know that you're from Winnipeg originally, but you also played 3 seasons with University of Alberta. How did you start coming out west, I guess, after high school?
Well, in high school, I was recruited by Chris Morrison. The Bears were a program that was in the dirt, but we came there and we started to rebuild it, and we had a lot of success there, especially on the line, and that's where I switched from defensive to offensive line, and really good running team, really good group of guys, and I hope for the best for them to really turn that program around. I really respect a lot of them. And then to come out here, growing up, you always heard about the Okanagan Sun in Winnipeg with guys like Quinn and Lucas coming here. It was just a natural kind of transition to, if I was going to play junior, this is one of the programs I'd want to be at.
So was the fact that it was going to be with the Sun the biggest part of your decision to come into junior football this year?
It was one of them. Like when you play at that next level, there's great facilities, there's a great team atmosphere, and to leave all that behind is sometimes tough, but when you come here, you're not missing a lot of that. You got a good workout facility, you got a good team facility. The locker room is one of the best locker rooms that I've ever been a part of, so it's real easy to make that transition.
Talking to other linemen too, making the switch from defense to offense or vice versa isn't something that's too out of normal. You hear guys making that at some point along the way. What was the biggest maybe challenge, I guess, in switching between the defense and the offense? Challenge or difference? What were one of the things that you really noticed right away?
Just that you have to work with a whole group of guys. When you're on the defensive line, you have to work together and you're all parts, but you have your battle, you have your one-on-one, you got to win that. When you're on an offensive line, you have to really work as a unit to be successful. So just kind of getting used to you working with 4 other guys to achieve a goal, that was probably the biggest difference.
Let's talk about this past weekend's game out in West Shore. Obviously, a tough one with you guys losing for the first time this season, but I mean, it was a really interesting matchup with the Rebels because you think back to week 1 and the first time you played them, and it seemed like such a different team that you were playing this past Saturday. What did you really take away from that game?
They're a physical team, and they're going to get emotional, and they're going to get up to play us. And when you come in and you don't play a full game against them, that's the outcome. We snuck out with 2 quarters in the first week, but that was almost 3 months ago now. So we know that if we go back to the island, we're going to have to give them our best shot. We're going to have to give them a full 4 quarters to really give them a game.
How tough is that D-line that you're going up against for the Rebels? Because they've got size and speed on that line that a lot of other teams in this league just don't have.
Yeah, they're all studs. They're all really talented football players, and you got to give them credit where credit's due. And Coach Beatty puts them in positions where they're getting a lot of one-on-one matchups, and they're going to make you beat. So you got to really prepare, really work on staying low, and work on your fundamentals if you're going to compete with those guys.
It sets up this matchup this coming weekend against the VI Raiders, a team that came away with that tie in that kind of crazy game last month. What are you expecting out of them this week? What did you take away from the first couple of times that you played those guys?
I'm expecting the teams that's going to come out and they're going to leave it all on the line. They're not going to go back to that island with anything left in the tank. And they're going to come at us with the most, I don't know, intricate plays that they can come up with and just the hardest hitting players that they can bring. Coach Hawking, I've had the pleasure of meeting him before, and he's a really talented coach, so we expect that he's going to do some stuff on defense that we don't know yet, and just that those players are going to fly around.
How are you and the offense feeling right now as you head into the playoffs? Are you guys confident in kind of the progression that you've gone on this year? What's that feeling like at this point?
Well, we're starting to click, and we really saw on West Shore more or less in the fourth quarter we could really move the ball against possibly one of the best defenses in the country aside from our own. So we're feeling confident. We just got to string together a full game of that. If we can put a full game together where we're clicking like that, we could go against any defense in this country.
And is it almost tough sometimes not to look ahead to that possible rematch with the Rebels, just because you've had some really spirited games with them? Obviously this season they're a big rival, and you know that you're going to have to go back onto the island if you play them again. Is it almost tough not to look past this weekend a little bit, even though you, like you say, have an opponent in town who's going to be pretty fired up for this one?
It's tough, but I think because of what VI did to us back at home in week 6, it's going to be tough to overlook them. We're going to focus on them. We're going to really focus on that island team before we start thinking about the next one. When you're dealing with a team like VI that can come into the Apple Bowl and play like they did, can't overlook a team like that, and I don't think we will.
That tie game, did it almost kind of feel like a loss to you guys just because of the success that you've had this season and the wins you've been able to put together?
Yeah, it did. And really when we had the opportunity, when we're in their 30-yard line and we can score and we can end the game and we can win it as an offense, get our defense off the pressure, it felt like a loss for us as an offense and just as a team because we know that we're much better than that. And we're going to take the best shot from every team that we play, and we have to be ready to play that. So it felt as a loss because we felt that we should have won that game.
And the last thing I'll ask you about is the penalty side of things. Different teams throughout the league have had struggles not taking penalties this season, and West Shore in that game, one of the big stories out of that was they're a team that's taken the most out of anybody. As you guys click more as an offensive line, is one of the results of clicking more being able to change up that count, try and get defenses to jump offside? Yeah,
for sure. And definitely when our quarterback, like with Lineman or Zyla's in, and they feel comfortable with us and as a receiver group to go on to change the count up, we're definitely going to do it more. And I feel like we're incorporating that more in practice, and we're definitely going to be using that in playoffs.
Welcome back here to Sunspots. My name is Evan Cooke, joined by the head coach of the Sun, Ben Macauley, as we look ahead to the first playoff game coming up at the Apple Bowl on Sunday afternoon. First, let's chat about this past weekend out on the road in West Shore. They gave you guys the first loss of the season. Talk a little bit about what you felt like in that game.
Well, I thought we started well. We played solid defense to begin with. They were able to run the ball a little more than I would have liked. We were doing a bit of a catching job rather than being aggressive, so they were able to rack up some rushing yards. We made some adjustments, and some of them worked and some of them didn't, but we gave up too many big plays throughout the second and third quarters. Put ourselves in too deep of a hole, and then when we started playing again in the fourth quarter, it was a little bit too late, ran out of time, and we didn't make the plays we needed to make. As coaches, we had to do a better job of preparing our guys to be successful, and that's something that we have to fix right away.
It seemed in the game like their defense, be it pass rushing, be it extra pressure that they were bringing to you, it seemed like they were able to kind of knock your offense out of its comfort zone throughout that game.
Yeah, and we just we had some execution issues, from the quarterback position and from other positions as well, of guys leaving points on the field. 3 times we were in the red zone and were unable to come away with points, and if we score on all 3 of those drives, it's a different ball game, and we're likely winning. So, but not to hang it all on 1 or 2 guys. It's all of us, all the coaches included. It's something that we didn't want to have as a wake-up call, but we're certainly going to use it as that.
That being said, I do wonder about later in the game, because there were opportunities later in the game where your team could have just folded looking at the scoreboard, but there was a late score. There was a close play in the red zone like you talk about. There was just a late fumble there that really could have made the game quite tight. Were you impressed with your team's ability not to count themselves out late in that ball game?
Yeah, this is a team that's kind of done that all year. Really good at playing in the fourth quarter. Not quite good enough on the scoring end of it this time. But we put ourselves in positions where we could finish, and we just didn't do it. And that comes down to just the execution. So, but it says a lot about the resolve of the team. We've got guys we can rely on. Keith Zyla did a great job coming in, and he feels 100% again, and that was evident the way he was throwing the ball and his confidence in the pocket. So that's something we can really hang our hat on going forward.
Wanted to ask about him because, like you mentioned, I thought he did look quite comfortable and quite strong when he came into the game. Is he the guy who's going to be starting out there come the weekend?
Yeah, and he managed to get out of that game completely healthy, which is always a concern when it gets into those tight ones and physical contests, that everyone gets out healthy. And I think he's healthy right now, and so we plan on starting him, trying to get back to where we started at the beginning of the season, with an offense that's dynamic, that can do multiple things. And we've got a great receiving corps, so we need to be able to get them involved in the game a bit more and get the ball in the hands of our playmakers. And Keith does a good job of that, so we're looking forward to him playing on Sunday.
Were there any part of the Rebels game that surprised you? You talked about how they ran the ball maybe more effectively than you would have liked, but were there other parts that you maybe weren't expecting to see from them that you did?
Well, I think they did a good job of staying disciplined, compared to what we've seen in the past. They've taken almost 20 football fields worth of penalties, and they were able to hold that in check a little bit on Saturday. So that was different. They're still a fiery group, and full credit to them. They played a good game and executed a good game plan. So that's on us as coaches of not having the matching counterpart to that. We need to be able to do a better job of that, and if we get the chance to see them again, I think we're going to be a little more prepared. Expect that we can't depend on them making mistakes. We've got to go out and create our own luck.
Looking ahead to this weekend, another game against the VI Raiders. You've had some entertaining ones against them this season. The second one here at the Apple Bowl didn't finish the way you liked, giving up those points in the final drive that ended in a tie. What's the big thing that the group's going to have to improve on going into a game against them again?
It's more of the same stuff, just execution. We were a little bit soft, and we were playing not to lose at that time. And I think this group is slightly different now. Our mindset has shifted more into an attack mode. We plan on giving them all they can handle defensively. It's playoffs, so there's no time to leave anything up our sleeves. We've got to use everything right now. We're not playing for next week. We're playing for this week, and we're playing for the right to play again. So it's a totally different mindset when you get to playoffs. We know what they're capable of. It will not be a surprise this time when they come out fired up. And Coach Hawking is a good coach, and he's going to have them ready to go again. But we need to respond. We need to throw the first punch and come out with a good week of practice and be ready to go on Sunday.
Do you think that mindset potentially helps you guys out in the playoffs now that maybe later in the regular season, when you've got a lot of wins under your belt, there's less motivation to really bring it every week, but now, like you mentioned, you lose and you're going home?
Yeah, it's a completely different mindset, and it's not one you have to fabricate as coaches. We don't have to set these guys up and try and convince them of anything. The reality is you're practicing this week, and if you don't do a good job on the weekend, then you're not going to be playing next week. And it happens quickly. It's over fast. So we need to be able to just understand that heading into the game, that every time you get out there could be your last play. So make it worth it. And I think we have some good leaders on the team who've been around the team for a while, and they understand that once the season's over, it's good and it's done and it's final. And it's a good feeling when you can push through and get a playoff win. Those are really meaningful. And then you got to do it all over again. So we just have to get into that mode. I think we'll be ready this weekend, but we've got a lot of work to do in between now and then.
Okanagan Sun return to action this Sunday at the Apple Bowl, 1 p.m. kickoff with the Vancouver Island Raiders. That game will be simulcast locally on AM 1150 as well as right here on Shaw TV. Thanks for watching.